guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. Welcome in the back. I'm jumping right into it, guys, because I was gonna sing the intro, and then another song popped into my head as we were like the time hit for words to come out of my mouth, and it was just like a log jam, a hitting of I'm gonna sing this song. No, not that song, and my body was like, we have to make noise. We have to make noise.
Yeah. Well, I have the entire Moana soundtrack in my head right now because my 2-year-old has been obsessed with it. So that's not the appropriate song either.
Sky and the Sea, it calls me. Yeah. So welcome into the bag, everyone. So excited to have you here. It's gonna be a fun day. We could possibly have a father-son duo on. We could have just a father. We could just have just the son.
Mm-hmm. We could have a dog. We don't know.
We could have a dog. We could have the dog, the one sponsored by Lone Star.
Yeah, that's
Who
true.
knows?
Yeah.
You don't know. We don't know. It's going to be a great day. Brad, how you doing today, brother?
Good. Glad to get back. I know we took kind of an unplanned break for a couple weeks, but we had a lot going on both of our schedules, and I think it worked out. I feel back, energized, ready for this on the fly episode. We might try to do these a little bit more often, but not only am I seeing the bag for the first time, Robbie is seeing the bag for the first time as well, and we don't know what we're letting in the room. So this is really going to test our skills, and I'm really excited to be back on an episode that's just kind of whoa, what's happening?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really fun time. They're in Colorado, so they're elevation, so there's going to be some bag adjustments and just throwing adjustments in general that I think is going to be really good. And so I'm pumped. It's gonna be a fun episode, y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think without further ado, Robbie, let's go ahead and get Jiren in.
Let's do it. Welcome in. We have our first in the bag history being made here. First father-son duo. What's up, gentlemen? How you doing today?
Man, thank you guys for coming. Thanks for having us.
Good morning.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us on here. We're super excited to go today.
If any of you recognize these fellows or the Frisbee Guys logo behind them, you'll recognize these are the boys from. I actually met these guys on Whatnot and Whatnot World. Crazy world that is, by the way. If you haven't been involved in disc golf Whatnot World, it is quite insane. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. But yeah, met these guys on there. Good folks, and like Robbie said, this is history in the making. We've never had a duo at all on, let alone a father-son combo. So tell us, where you guys calling in from today, and tell us a little bit about your background in disc golf. Just give us a minute synopsis of that.
All right, so we are located here in Colorado. We do our shows for the Whatnot stream. We do that here in Colorado Springs. The disc golf course that we own is called Alta Vista Disc Golf Ranch, right there on the bottom. That's where we have the course up there in Victor, Colorado. It's going to be an 18-hole concrete T-pads. We got, Mach 2 baskets, pro shop on site up there. So that's kind of mainly where we're going to be, is here, located here in Colorado. I started playing actually when I was 2 or 3 years old. Thankful to him, because he was building me those little mini baskets, putting with little minis and stuff. And all the original course, actually, what's a real crazy story is he welded all of the original baskets that set up on the course back in the, mid 90s to early 2000s. And so that's where, metal machine working and stuff came to allow, to build little mini baskets and stuff. And then he started playing, right around that same time, 1993 or so.
Yeah, 92. Started playing 92.
Yep, and then you did the Thin Air Tour and everything, too, during the early...
Thin Air Tour. So, so we're in Colorado Springs right now.
Yep.
And then Alta Vista is in Victor, Colorado.
Yep, Victor, Colorado. That's where we're located here in Colorado, the beautiful Rocky Mountains, man. 9,700 feet is where the elevation of where the course sits at, so we're super high up.
Yeah. That's awesome. And if any of you watched Trevor's, he did a disc collection review of mine. The orange disc up here, for those of you watching here, that had the pizza on the back. These are the boys. They call me All Pizza Brad sometimes over there. So good dudes. Wanted to have them on again. What an interesting pair too, Robbie, because we have someone who's played since the 90s. I don't know if we've had anyone here that's on the show that's played in the 90s, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely. When I think about it, Jeremy, and how you talk about welding the baskets and things, we have some people get that disc golf itch, especially now, where they're like, well, I'm going to form some form of something, right? And back in the day, you remember tone poles being out there, and where it was just courses would just have that was what you had. So for you to upgrade Alta Vista to even then having like actual baskets is such a cool upgrade. Cause yeah, I remember the first time my brother got an ace was at, we were playing in like, this was even in like 2012, 2013. So, I mean, you've been doing this for 2 decades at that point, and he throws an ace and hits this, like the bat that of course didn't have baskets. So they had these like wood 4x4s that had a painted section. Yeah. These posts and like had like a single chain drilled in to the sides of the post. And so he hit that and he was like, I got an ace. And we were like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So
how far disc golf has come, right? I think I'm a little spoiled because I've only been in it since like 2021, ish. So, how spoiled we've become. I can just go get a basket and go to a park anywhere pretty much and play disc golf. And
you can get carts.
you were out there in the 90s pioneering it up.
Oh,
I had to build my own course.
Yeah, right. The evolution.
I love that.
Changed so much over the years,
For sure.
well, hey, we want our people to get to know you for not only your history in disc golf, but also your ability to throw the disc. I think because that's one of the best parts about this is that people use this podcast as like a reference point. It always amazes me when we're out in the open, out in the wild, and meeting people and talking with them. Like next weekend, we're at Music City Open, and I'm sure we'll meet people that are like, "Hey, we listen to the podcast. It's great." So when we get to know your game, they can kind of hear like, oh, that's a good reference point for me, things like that. So we'll kind of go back and forth. So I'll kind of ask a question and then we'll bounce back and forth between Jeremy is the father, Jiren is the son for everyone listening. And I'll reference that a couple more times. That way, but yeah, so bouncing back and forth, let's say that we were to take you out to a field and we were to say, we're going to put a basket X amount of feet away from you. Gentlemen, how far do you feel like you can reach that basket consistently, forehand and backhand?
So I would say 300 is pretty much my max right now. 350 on a good drive. And I'm going to be throwing the Mamba for that.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
like for me personally, I can easily push over that 400 distance. So I'd say, anywhere within that like 400, 380, 90, 4, 410, 420. I'm saying kind of around those.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
awesome. So definitely some distance, and like they mentioned, they're in Colorado, so elevation is there. And I'll tell you guys, having played in Colorado and played at sea level, discs drop out of the sky. It is crazy to me. Like that was the joke that Jesse and I had the whole time I was up there. Is like, oh, I make that putt, and in Birmingham, I make that putt for sure. So. You guys are literally working uphill to try to throw a little bit farther. So, okay, so that's driving distance. Let's put you on the putting green. We're going to put you at 10 putts from 15, 10 putts from 25, and 10 putts from 40 feet. How many are y'all making at each station?
So 10 feet, I got all of them. I'm throwing the Marshall, the classic blend. Just a Marshall putter from Dynamic on that classic. 10 feet, I got all of them. Would you say next 15?
15, 25, and 40.
So 15, I got all of them. 25, I'm probably hitting, I would say 8 out of 10. And then lastly, I'm a little rusty outside the circle right now. So maybe 4 out of 10 outside the circle. I'm missing those right now. I'm dropping or I'm hitting left and it's kicking out. Yeah, I'm not sticking those putts.
Okay. Awesome. How about you, Jiren?
And then me personally, I'm kind of quite opposite. So I kind of struggle with those like close putts. Once I get like out to that 25, 30 feet, I'm actually like more percentage, like a much higher percentage, over 50%. And then even when I get outside of the circle, within that like 35, 40 feet, I'm definitely even pushing like 6 out of 10. I putt better from a farther distance, and I actually struggle so much from like inside close range. And I don't know what it is. I have this little putting rut that I'm in. I just struggle with those little close ones, bro. You park the hole, and then you're like, you should tap that birdie.
Miss the birdie.
You're like, here we go. You take a par, or even sometimes back. So, but yes, I think I'm a little more confident actually at further distances putting.
Okay. Are you a spin putter, Jiren, or push putter?
Spin putter for sure. Yes.
Okay.
Makes sense.
That would explain it. I played doubles this weekend with a friend who he exclusively flick putts.
Oh,
his name's Pete Collins. We had one round where we played doubles, and we were like, okay, this is tricky because if we land inside of 25 feet, feel like I'm going to make it. But if we land outside of 25 feet, I feel like he's going to make it because when he's too close to the basket, his little flick putt was just like he has to take so much off of it.
Too much.
So we pretty much were playing solo putting doubles on the green because it was like, depending on where we land, it's all on that one person. So fascinating time. Okay, so then the last question I'll ask is what would y'all say is the biggest strength of your game?
Okay.
I'm gonna go up shots with my putters. I mean, within 100 feet, I'm strategic. I'm surgical with the putter within 100 feet for an upshot. That would be my strong suit.
Me, I would say probably using my mid range is actually the most. Like a lot of my mid ranges, like the Matrix, the Comet, and the Kata, and everything, even the Pyro. Like those are all. I'm able to get good distance with those, so I think that really helps when you're navigating like tight holes and stuff. I love throwing. We're here in the Rocky Mountains, so we're wooded, tree shots. So being able to like pipe lines within trees, getting them to flip up and just ride that whole, that whole gap is something that I feel like I definitely like is my strengths in for sure in disc golf.
Yeah. It's mountain golf is so fascinating to me because I feel like if you're in like the Denver area, all of their courses, like they just don't have trees.
Yeah, it's definitely
that was shocking to me when I got out there and was like, oh, okay. I don't have to like navigate lines, fairways at all. And then you get to like you got it. It was funny because like at a certain point, like Beaver, you were like, oh, there's trees all over this place. What are we doing here? Like it just fascinating. Just the treescape, I would say, that y'all have. So
yeah, kind of the different terrains that you can see from being within, like Colorado Springs, Denver, even Pueblo area. We have a lot of beautiful courses like down in Pueblo, like Pueblo City Park's one of the oldest courses here in Colorado, but it's a city park, you know what I mean? So there's just big trees within the park, but it's not mountainy or terrainy. And then as soon as you go, into the, even Woodland Park, we have a couple of courses out in Woodland Park, and even, up at Alta Vista, and like you said, even Beaver Ranch, like it gets crazy wooded. The terrain is much different. Lots of rocks and stuff too. Like there's like a lot of base plastic in Colorado.
It's not going to make it.
Yeah, it does not really last too long in Colorado just because the terrain is, it's a lot different.
Rough.
Yeah, a lot rough.
yeah. So breaking down the bags, there's I want to talk about a couple of highlights. I had a couple of discs that I like personally, just for the sake of time in the podcast. So we don't have a 4-hour podcast, although some people would really love it. Some people would be like, bro, I'm just not listening. So thank you to either of you who are sitting on either end of the spectrum listening right now. We love you and appreciate you. I had a couple discs that I wanted to ask about. Brad, you feel free to do the same. And then I'll do this. I'm going to ask these questions because one thing that I want to ask about is we talked about problem areas before we started recording, and we really want to dive into those a little bit. I can sort of break them down. But the question I'm going to have y'all answer after this is like, okay, not necessarily a 3-disc round that you would pull out of your bag, but what are the 3 discs in your bag that you're like, hey, this is bread and butter. I feel so like if I'm having an off day, these are the 3 discs that I'm trying to throw as much as possible just because I know what to do with them. So be thinking on that, reminiscing a little or thinking about it. And like I said, I've got a couple that I want to ask about. So, Jeremy, you said you're surgical with a putter. I'm guessing we're talking about this 4S Wizard.
I'm just using my 4S just for an upshot. If I'm on a hill, I need something to stick. It's not going to roll away. I'm throwing my Marshalls, what I putt with. I'm using that also for my upshot.
Okay. So you mentioned base plastic doesn't survive. When I think about 4S, I think that's like such a like gummy, soft plastic. Does it not get chewed up on the rocks and all that? Or are you just kind of like cycling through Marshalls and Wizards pretty often?
I would say I probably use my putters for 2 seasons, and then I'm cycling through. Not beating them up too bad, but that classic Marshall seems to hold up pretty good. But I do go through Marshalls every couple seasons. I get a new set. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And then jumping over to Jiren, Doomsday, not a brand that gets a lot of traction with people. I feel like Doomsday is has to be top 5 most underrepresented companies that people would know, right? Like there's some weird companies out there that like they make one mold and there are people that are just fans of them and they're doing that thing, but like no one's ever heard of them before. Doomsday, I feel like it's becoming a household name.
Yeah,
they make me sad.
It just doesn't have a ton of like stuff in there. So I was looking at the Flat Earth. Sell me on the Flat Earth. What's it do?
So Flat Earth for me is just going to be like that more straight to stable type of like mid-range for me. So I can even get it to have that little bit of turn right out of the hand, you know what I mean? And kind of hold that for a little bit and then just have that nice kind of little bit of a turn at the end, kind of come out straight, so to speak. So I'm able to get good distance with that as well because it is a smaller rim, having like smaller hands. You know what I mean? I kind of try to kind of weigh towards some of those like smaller rim type of discs. Besides for like destroyers, of course, but you know because those are big rim discs. But like for like mid ranges and even my putters, like I putt with the Alpus because they have like a small rim. You know, so that's like
makes sense.
I like the Flat Earth.
And Robbie, do you want to just give our listeners again, just assuming I, Brad, know nothing about how elevation affects the disc, because I think it's good to highlight. So Jiren just said the Flat Earth, which is a 5.5 -1.0, is straight to like stable for him. Now, at our elevation here in Virginia, that's going to turn all day for me and just not come back. So do you want to walk me through, as if I don't know what elevation does on a disc, just for some listeners who may not have heard it before, Robbie?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give my brief encounter with it because I was there for about a week, and then I'll let the true professionals give the actual, probably a better representation. So for me, what I noticed, the two things were, I think some people think that you're going to look at a disc and you're going to be like, oh, this Mamba goes from flippy roller to like destroyer. And that's just not true. Like, it's not like it jumps drastically. I would say that like for me, my pigs were my great standard of this. So I have 3 pigs in the bag. I have an overstable pig, I have straight pig, and I have precious child, which is a flippy pig.
Yep.
So it felt like everything that's seasoned takes one step in the stability range. So like if you've got 2 comets that are seasoned, one of them is super flippy for you and you're at sea level, when you step up, it's going to be your straighter comet. So but I feel like what makes things not feel like they have the understability is glide just seems to disappear while you're up there.
Yeah.
So you don't get the time that a lot of understable discs want in order to keep turning and doing all of that because it's just trying to get to the ground. So that was that's what I noticed, but I don't know, like, I noticed that there, and on putting especially, I felt like I was having to, when I came back from elevation, I missed high for like 2 weeks straight on my baskets because I felt like I was full sending putts from like 25 feet. I was more committed than ever before, but I mean, tonk off that band. I got so annoyed by the band in my backyard for literally 2 weeks of just like, come on, Crawford, like dial this in. So that's where I've noticed. For y'all at elevation, how would you describe if someone was coming up to visit Alta Vista? What do they need to know about their Frisbees?
Okay, for sure. So I would think like for example, like I throw destroyers. So like we were just in Texas a couple months back for the NADGT, and I'm flipping up a forehand down in Texas, and that thing's going to push 420, like 430 even before it's even going to start wanting to Hyzer over. You come here, it's pushing like 380 before starting a Hyzer out, just because the natural ability, like it becomes more stable up here. Even like my comments, I know there's a lot of comment throwers out there. Like, comments are naturally a straight to even somewhat a little understable if you give it a little turn. But here, like my comments stay and hold that stability. They are even like one of my comments is the more stable of the two, and that one like will stay on the Hyzer the whole time. Never flips up to flat. We'll just ride Hyzer. You know what I mean? So even when you throw it at higher speed, so it's I don't know if it. I think it's just the elevation that we are in. I don't know like the actual the technological of like the flight blade or what the air is doing to it, but for what we're seeing, like by throwing it, stuff's going to be more stable, especially at like Alta Vista. You come down here to Colorado Springs and you throw discs, like when you go up another 3,000 feet into the mountains, like they're not going to fly any way in any shape similar to what you flew down here, here in the Springs. So
so how do you all prepare someone who plays disc golf a lot in the area, and you're not, like you said, you're not traveling very far for your discs to change, right? You can play two courses in the same day and you have the same disc flying completely different. How do you all prep for that? I'm going to assume a little bit, Jeremy, because I can see your bag's pulled up right here beside me. Is that why you're so locked in on this mid-range game and everything's pretty neutral for you? Even going up Zombie, FD, Valkyrie? Is that why you keep everything pretty neutral so you can just kind of adjust as needed? Is that how you're prepping your bags, or what are you guys doing to prep your bags for that kind of difference in play amongst courses?
In my situation with the mid-range disc, I'm looking for I don't have the arm speed that I had 20 years ago. I'm getting older now. So I rely more on a mid-range disc. And then my shot is a nice straight shot that's going to fade at the end and kind of drop in left. So that's why I'm relying on a lot of mid-range discs, because I don't have the arm speed for the drivers anymore.
Okay. And then the discs you're choosing, though, a Mako 3 is a good example that probably does exactly what you're saying so whether you're at 3,000 feet above where you're playing later that afternoon, what are you relying on discs you just kind of know the back of your hand and you know how to manipulate them for the elevation? Or are you okay, well, Mako 3, I'm leaning on Mako 3s at higher elevation, then when I get down to 3,000 feet below, I'm going to throw the Fugitive instead?
So the Mako 3s right now, that's why I got two, because these guys are in training. This is a new mid trying out. But
awesome.
What I'm every day throwing is the Fugitive and the Evidence. And that's just because I've been throwing them so long. That's just the disc I know. So I rely on years of throwing, and I like that Fusion plastic too.
Right.
Every day, Evidence and Fugitive.
Yeah, so you're really leaning on discs you just know, and that's how you're kind of adapting that way.
Even when I drop down, you guys are in Virginia, I think, right?
Yeah.
We play a lot in Florida. Even when I go to Florida, I just take another day, do some field work. I'm using the same discs, even at lower altitude. I'm just taking a little more time to figure out what it's going to do at lower altitude.
Gotcha. And what about you, Jiren? Are you kind of the same way? You have the same mentality? You're just adjusting you just learn to adjust, or are you leaning on different discs? What's your strategy?
So I'd say because I do play I do travel around and play events and stuff. So I do kind of change my bag up based on kind of where I'm going. Because even when I do go down to Florida and stuff, like G-Star Leopard is another disc that I'll bag throughout the season and stuff from Innova, And here in Colorado, again, it's going to be that straight to slightly stable, maybe a little bit of turn on it. But when I go down to Florida, I have to adjust so much different because stuff flies farther. I do notice that too. When I'm down in lower elevations, stuff is I'm yo, that could have flipped. That was flipping up and it's still flipping. It's still going straight. It's 400 feet. I was I'm trying to throw this on at 350 and just it's naturally
you're overshooting it.
It's flying farther. So I do have to adjust kind of based on where I'm going. When I went out to Texas for NADGT, it was a bigger tournament too, so I brought extras in case you lose discs. But we probably brought out 50 discs, and I played 2 rounds. I used both bags, or I kind of brought both both of these types of discs and then both of these types of discs, and then brought them to see what would work. You know what I mean? And then still always the comment's going to always be in the bag. So 10 out of 10 doesn't matter where I'm at or what round it is. The comment's going to be in there, and I can. Most courses I can play with just a comment alone too, putt with it and all. So in that same mentality, just as him, I use the stuff that like makes me feel comfortable and I feel the most confident. Like,
Yeah.
on that shot,
Right. And I think it's big for anything in disc golf, regardless of what you're playing or what type of round or where you're playing. That Robbie always says subconscious confidence. Like you just believe internally that you're going to throw a good shot, or you know what this disc is going to do. That probably conquers everything. It's just always curious to me, because I think, again, we have this podcast called In the Bag. I think what fascinates me is just like people's strategy and like how people build their bags. And like, I mean, I don't think there's a right or wrong way necessarily, unless you're like, oh, I need to throw overstable discs, and you put all overstable discs. Like that's wrong. But as far as how everyone builds, like there's different strategies. And I find myself lately, and Robbie, I don't know if you noticed this last time you were here, but I just feel like Forest and Lynchburg right now, it just has an incredible amount of wind all the time. We were out playing the other day. We had like 35, 40 mile an hour gusts at times. Like, so I find myself, I keep a couple of discs in there. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not even going to throw these on a normal round, but if I get like super windy, like crosswind, I need to have these discs in here. So just interesting, elevation, like how, that's obviously changing your game. Wind's changing your game, even weather, hot, cold. I take my Eclipse Envy out of my bag for winter because I need more grip, and then now it's warming up. I put the Eclipse Envies back in. So, I mean, I think it's just interesting, So sorry to derail that on elevation, Robbie, but I just feel like it's really good, just a learning experience on like how that changes game up and bag selection.
Yeah, no, I think that it's low key. One of the best parts about disc golf is that all of our equipment is so cheap. Like you go to play golf, and it's like, I'm sure that people are cycling in depending on how their game's feeling, or it's not. It's like I saw a short clip of someone the other day, and they were like, yeah, I came and got fitted for clubs, and I bought blades, and I spent $1,200 on blades, and it was like, but these don't work for me. It's like, all right, cool. I went and paid $32 for a Saki Bomb General and realized it didn't work for me. Mm-hmm. Sick. I sold it back for 20. You can adjust on the fly. You can figure that out. And then there's also that world of like, I look at, I would say in Jeremy's bag, like the Fugitive is not the Fugitive nor the Evidence, probably the Evidence more so, a disc that more people probably should be throwing, like a completely slept on mid-range. But like, man, there's just a world where you've been throwing them for long enough that you have some seasoned ones as well, where like, oh yeah, I want to go to elevation. Like if I drop down or if I'm stepping up, elevation, that was the most shocking part about elevation to me. Wasn't how disc flew. It was, we landed in, like I landed in Denver and we went and played Johnny.
Okay.
Which is like one of the most played courses in the world, for context for everyone. Like the amount of rounds that are played on that course a day is insane. Like you show up and you're on a 5-cart backup on hole 1 and everyone's like, wow, course a little busy today. Nope, that's just standard. So sick. So I watched my disc fly there, and then we headed north and played Lake Dillon. And so went to Lake Dillon, and we just drove literally an hour north of Denver and gained like 4,000 feet of elevation.
Yes. Yep.
And you're like, oh, it really is a different game up here. All right, cool. So, and then you go to Beaver, which was like 1,000 feet lower. And so you're constantly figuring it out. So yeah, it's finding your disc that you know what they're going to do, throw it a couple of times before you start playing. And because you're familiar with the disc, that subconscious confidence really is going to shine.
I agree.
So gentlemen, what are 3 discs that are your just rocks inside your back?
Ooh. All right, I'm going to go Valkyrie. I've been throwing Valkyries for 30 years probably. I can do a good Scooby. I can do a good overhand, good slice, great in the wind. I'm always going to throw a Valkyrie. If I lost it, I'd be in trouble. Probably the Marshalls are going to be my second. You said 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Valkyrie I got to have. The Marshall I got to have just because that's my putter. That's my upshot. My third, if I were to lose it, I'd be in trouble. If I never had it again, I'd be in trouble. That's going to be the Fusion Evidence. That would be the three that I would pick.
Okay. I love it.
All right, me, I would be most devastated if I ever lose any of my comments. Luckily, I always got comments, so I won't ever lose them, but that's never going to leave the bag. Destroyers are always, they're always in the bag. Like, forehand, backhand, doesn't matter. Destroyers all day. And then pyros, I just started throwing the pyro actually last season, and, I got a big sidearm, so it really allows me to get a nice, just max distance on a just big turnover S shot with a pyro. So that's really been able to elevate my game on having a distance drive, or not a distance drive, but having a mid range that I can use for distance on a forehand shot. Because forehand is touchy on some of the discs and so much spin, and the pyro for me is one of the ones that really holds it. So those would be the three: destroyers, comets, and pyros for me would be the three rocks.
Yeah,
quite the tale of two cities there too, which I like.
Yeah, looking at the bag, it's probably What was in the bag first, the mutant or the pyro?
Actually, the mutant. So I actually had the mutant for. It's probably on maybe its third or even fourth season now. So I've had the mutant, but the thing that the mutant doesn't have is what the pyro has is that longer turn. So for me, would be flipping up faster and would want to be coming out of it. Where on the pyro, I'm wanting it to push that 350 and it's pushing that 350 in its flight. You know what I mean? Where the mutant was wanting to come out sooner. Even and you can't turn them over be a roller and still expect it to come out. You know what I mean? But so you can't just get more distance. But the pyro for me has been able to do that. To get that to extra distance.
Yeah, I'm looking at the mid ranges in the bag and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
It definitely has. I see that the jump from Comet basically all the way over to Mutant and Frag was oh, yeah, that's
Frag is
that's a bit of a chasm.
The frag's definitely a utility. If I'm ever in the trees or need something to really kind of throw it up in the air and get that stalling sidearm Hyzer. You know what I mean? That's definitely what the frag is. It's more of a utility type of get out of jail card, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So let's dive into one of the problem areas that we identify. We'll start with Jeremy. We're talking throwing putters. So, I like to ask this question sort of in preference, when we're doing behind the scenes. You guys are going to get a much better view of all of this, because talking about a throwing putter that you're looking for. So I'm guessing that we're looking for something. The Marshalls feel very, you said surgical. I keep coming back to this word. I love that. I love that confidence with that. What are the Marshalls not doing that you're hey, I need a disc that gets me from Marshall to my evidence and fugitive? There's just, I'm having to tone back on the fugitive and evidence, or the Marshall can't do blank.
That seems to be about 100 feet out from me. Is that problem I'm having? I don't know what to do on 100. If I'm inside 100, I'm going to throw a Marshall and put it up in there and feel comfortable about it. But outside 100, on and up, that's an upshot to me. It's too close to be throwing the fugitive or the evidence. So that's the gap that I'm fighting. I lose my not as comfortable in that area.
Yeah. And so, Jeremy, are you looking for something that's more neutral, like your Marshalls, that you can kind of work and angle manipulate and things like that? Or are you looking for something that has some reliable fade? What's kind of the choice here?
Well, I want something I could drive, just on a shorter hole, right? And maybe it's the classic plastic that's bothering me. It's got too much. It's too soft. It's got too much grip. But I need something like a grip and feel comfortable throwing hard outside 100 feet. And I prefer that to be a putter of type.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Brad, I've got a couple ideas, and you let me know, because I think this is going to be you and Jeremy are throwing similar distances. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to lean on you for I'm going to throw out some ideas, and you let me know which ones you feel can be somewhat there.
Okay.
So the first one that comes to mind is actually the Invader from Innova.
Oh, okay.
I like looking at the bag. Whenever I see someone that's playing since the 90s, I'm like, okay, this guy can love some Innova plastic. And you talk about that Valkyrie that just feels really good in the hand. And I will be the first to acknowledge that Innova of old and Innova of current don't always feel like the same plastic. So I get that. And I know that the Invader is a newer mold. I say newer, it's like 4 years old at this point, but very straight, very reliable option. So that would be choice number one that I would look at is the Invader.
All right.
Choice number two that I'm going to look at is I'm actually going to go ahead and jump over to the Luna. I think the Luna, and what's cool about the Luna is I go to one of the first coaches that I worked with is a guy named Mike Strauss. Strauss has been coaching, like he was watching coaching tape back in the 90s when it was like you were buying the VHSs, and he's sitting there with his VHS player, literally like rewinding, watching old tournament footage, because that's how he could study like the pros actually throwing the disc and everything. And so he was throwing, I can't remember what he threw before, but he fell in love with the Luna to where now he uses base Lunas for everything, like, and is just chucking them. And I think for so many people, they get pushed off of the Luna because they look at it as the flight numbers, which are the flight numbers of the Luna throw so many people off of it for two reasons. One, it doesn't match the flight numbers, so they're like, well, that just doesn't fill the slot I wanted. Or two, they never give it a chance because of the flight numbers, and that rocks them. Because I think the flight numbers on the Luna are like a 3303.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
For our visual watchers, you just got to see my look of disgust as I described this.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just simply not true.
402, 0.5.
Yeah, Luna's a 3402.5.
Yeah. I could not disagree more. I'm going to call it like, I really am going to call it like a 01. But I do think that it has that glide pretty heavily. And then if you get a premium one, as a nice, preview, Tour Series this year for Discraft is going to be the like Z swirl again. And they're going to have some stability to them. So I think that there's a world that the Luna could be this, like, you can definitely throw it as a driving putter, but it's not going to have so much overstability. I think to me, it's going to fly very similar to your Fugitive, just a little shorter. Which could be a nice middle ground. And then some base plastic Lunas could really line in with sort of messing with the evidence. And I think that if you fall in love with the Luna enough, I don't know that it fully pushes your marshals out, but I do think you could be surprised on there. So Brad, between those two, how do you feel about those suggestions for this like 100 plus to, I'm guessing, like 200-ish range?
Okay. Can I offer two other suggestions?
Fire away.
Okay, here, I like the Invader suggestion a lot, by the way. I don't feel, again, I haven't really thrown them that much or really much at all. I worry about the glide. I don't feel like they're like super glidey, unless I'm wrong, Robbie. So I worry about them not having a ton
Invaders?
of glide. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a minute since I've thrown an Invader, so I'm not sure on the glide.
Yeah, so I think maybe that's the only thing that concerns me about that. But I do love that it's Innova. I think you like the hand feel of it. I think it has the grip that you want. And like, I've seen some people shred with Invader only. I mean, at Tim Brooks specifically. So, and you have two, Robbie. So it's a great disc. I was thinking specifically Eclipse Proxy.
Okay.
See, I agree with that because I was already thinking about the Proxy.
Yeah, in my experience, the Eclipse Proxy is just like a less beefy Envy, and I mean, I think for like your elevation, that might be okay, and I do feel like it'll handle some torque still, being an understable putter. So that was my recommendation was going to be, Robbie. But I like the Luna too, especially if you get like a I mean, a premium plastic Luna, I think that could be like a really good fit for you. Because again, I think I think a lot of people get frustrated with the Luna because it's not what they think a Luna is going to be. But if you take it for what it actually is, it's a really good throwing putter. I mean, really good throwing putter. So I kind of like the Luna suggestion, Robbie.
Yeah, my thing with the Luna is that my Luna made my mid ranges feel sad inside because the Luna went so far that it was like, okay, this is just a Luna shot. Like but the one thing that the Luna wasn't doing was it just wasn't fading. So that's why I didn't end up earning the spot in my bag, is because it didn't have just that extra tick of stability that I wanted. But I'm at sea level, which is what makes me think like it would, because it was just a hair off. Like sometimes I would say 50% of the time it would have the fade I was looking for. It just, there would be that other half where I would throw it and I'd be like, all right, time to hook up, buddy. Time to hook up, buddy.
It's not hooking up.
Please. And then it wouldn't. And I just think at elevation, it would have that extra hook that could be really cool.
I like that recommendation a lot. The more I think about it, the more I like it. Because I was literally thinking about you saying it just wasn't quite stable enough. And it glides forever, which will help you. Yeah, I like that. I think that's so solid.
Close.
Yeah,
it was so close. So I would check out the Luna, but I also agree with Brad. I think the Proxy is a great choice as well, and also comes in a billion plastics. So
they both do. So that's good for you for hand feel.
Yeah. So I would definitely, I've definitely check those out, and excited to hear how they fly. If one earns the spot. And so then jumping over to Jiren, we're talking flippy drivers, but not super flippy. So I asked about it before. Another disc that's in there from a company. This is a company, if Doomsday is a household name that nobody throws, this is a company that I think should be a household name and more people should give respect to, because they tackled a space inside of disc golf that needed to be tackled, that was premium discs at a cheaper price.
Agreed.
And I just don't know why people avoid them. Divergent discs. You have the Lawin.
Yeah, Lawin.
Yeah, Lawin.
Yeah, you have the Lawin in your bag. So it's a pretty extreme jump from the Lawin over to your Destroyers, your DDXs, things like that. So talk to us about, you're looking for something in this realm. Describe sort of the problem you're looking at.
So, with the Lawin, it has that understability, but the problem with what the understability is I don't know if it's too flippy, and it turns into more of a distance type of roller disc, where even when you put it on, Hyzer and let it flip, and again, that's why I also am bagging the max life instead of the max value, because I do think that the max life has a little bit more stability, where right now this is just a max value. So that one's, I think, going to turn over a little bit more naturally, just because it's more of the base plastic. But even when I throw the max life Lawin, even then it still is super flippy, and it wants to turn into a roller. And it has a nice hand feel, and that's why I was originally bagging it, is mainly kind of going again back to that hand feel and confidence when you're picking up a disc, but even if it's confident enough in your hand and it's not flying the way you want it, you have to you got to try to work something in, you got to try to figure it out a little bit. But I don't think it's not going to be I think it's still going to be a good disc to use as a roller, but it's not filling that slot for my understability in a distance driver,
And for those of you who've never heard of the Lawin, it's 12.6 -3.2. So again, at sea level, not super burn over roller disc, but that's how it's really affecting you up there in Colorado. So Robbie, what do you think? I mean, this is a tricky area for me. I don't have a lot of good feedback to probably give in this area.
Okay. So Jiren,
maybe I do. Go ahead.
I've got the pick that I think is the perfect disc. The moment we started chatting, I was like, this guy needs to bag this disc. And I can guarantee you, if I gave listeners 10 guesses, they don't get close to this disc. It's just, I love this disc. I think it's so fun. You can go ahead and take a stab at it, Brad, if you want.
I was gonna do a 1, 2, 3. We say at the same time, but now I'm really not confident in what it is.
Okay, Brad, I'm gonna give you. I'll give Brad. We'll do a little live game here.
Okay, are you gonna give me 5 guesses?
I'm gonna give you 5 guesses.
Okay.
To guess the disc that I'm thinking of.
It's probably something in his bag.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think it's in your bag. Okay. Can I ask 2 questions?
It's not in his bag currently. It is not in his bag currently.
Not in my bag.
Leroy's bag.
It's not in anyone in this call's bag.
Okay. All right. And then my second question is it a House of Discs brand?
I cannot answer I'm not going to answer any questions.
Okay.
Of that specificness.
Give me the bag.
Okay. First guess was going to be Trail, which doesn't sound like that.
No, it was not the Trail.
No, so I was already wrong there. All right. Second guess is going to be DD1.
Oh, that is a great choice. Not it though.
Okay. Next guess is the Turn.
Okay, the Turn. I will say that I recommended the Turn to several people this weekend, and the Turn was where I first went, but not the perfect disc that I landed on. Okay. So you're on the right track. You're on the right track.
Third guess. Oh, this is my third guess.
That was your third was Turn.
Okay, Mystere.
Okay, now if we're talking like 0 to 100, you're at like a 83 right now.
Yeah.
But the Mystere is not it. The Mystere also a great disc.
Oh, man. F4.
Okay. So
farther away.
Farther away. You were farther away there. The first disc that I looked at was actually the X4 by Prodigy.
Okay.
So because I wanted that distance, because Jiren's got the arm, he's got the speed for it. So I think the X line at Prodigy slept on. Like everyone goes straight to like the D2s and the D3s and the D3 Maxes and stuff like that. I think the X line super slept on. So the vibe that I get, Jiren, is that you're a guy who wants to be able to not only crush people for their competitive ability and their souls and things like that, but you want to do it with a disc that is swagging on them. Like you want to be able to pull out this Lowin and be like, everyone's looking at you like, bro, what is that? So it's either like super iconic with like a really sick destroyer, or you want to go like complete dark horse choice, the Divergence, you're throwing the Comet.
Yeah.
Unless you're Michael Johansson, there's like 6 people in the country that throw a Comet.
I tell you.
Yeah. So that's why I think the disc you need is the Westside King.
Nice. That's a good one.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually that. Yeah, I like that.
Okay. So
I would have never guessed that.
Yeah. Here's the thing about the Westside King. If you've been playing since 2020, you've not even heard of the King / like thought about the King, because this disc is, I want to say it got approved in 2010. It got approved in 2010. So when the King came out, it was this disc that was like, everyone was saying this is elite distance. Like this is easy distance. This is how you get to the top of your game. And the numbers on the King are a 14 speed, which pushed so many people off of it.
Yeah.
5 -1.5 3.
Okay. Yep.
But I think realistically, it came out to being more like a 13 speed 5 glide. I would say a -1 fade or turn, but only 2 fade.
Okay.
So while that looks very similar to the other drivers that you have in your bag, I think that when a King gets into the turn, it's going to lean into that turn hardcore, but it still has just enough fade that it's going to fight and stay in it. And I wouldn't recommend this disc to many people who can't throw distance drivers well, because that big rim is going to make it tough. But if you're consistently pushing your destroyers and even this Lowin over 400, you've got the arm to throw a distance driver. I think the King could be the like you're the guy that brings the king back.
Yeah, that's why. Let's go. The king is
King for the boys.
the king is
Plus,
back.
once again, I just have this like vision of you throwing your king, and like you're just, like it's just sailing off of a mountain shot, and like it's just doing its thing, and then you turn around and you just like stick your arms out. And you're just like looking at your card and you're like, respect the king, boys. Respect the king. And you're just kind of like strolling off. And then Jeremy's just looking at you like, gosh dang it.
Yeah, like
Why did Robbie put him on this disc? Like, I'm so annoyed right now. Like, I just, this whole thing played out and I've been waiting for this moment literally since the call started. Like, I pulled up a tab and had the king on the side.
yo. Yeah.
Before the call started, when you were like, this is sort of where I'm thinking.
Cool. I'm totally down to try it for sure. I'm bagging it.
So, yeah, it's. I hope it's that guy.
Yep, sure.
And if you currently throw a Westside King and you're listening to this podcast, please leave a comment below because I really think that we get a lot of listens, and I'm very grateful. I think if I polled my audience on YouTube and I was like, how many of you have heard of a king and thrown a king? It would be like 10 people.
Yep. That is for sure.
So, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. Well, Brad, you got any final thoughts as we wrap it up? We've been going about an hour and 12 minutes.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I think only thing I have to say is Luna and King for the boys is what I got to say. For the boys. So yeah, no, appreciate you guys coming on. I think it's a lot of value learning about elevation, and I mean, I think we can apply that to a lot of different things, not just only playing in elevation. You know what I mean? So, and it's nice seeing a bunch of different types of discs. I mean, we do get to see a lot of bags, and there are some like very standard things that people are doing, especially if they played for like around my link like 3 to 5 years at this point. But it's nice seeing some other like variety, talking about the fugitive and the evidence and the Marshall, and even talking about divergent discs. There's some value. So appreciate you guys coming on for that. And no, I'm excited, and this was a fun experiment. So thanks for experimenting with us.
Yeah, you guys want to plug? Where can the people find the boys?
Yeah, so we are on Whatnot app. We do it every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And it's called the Frisbee Guys. There we go. There, Brad showing the Frisbee Guy disc. And we're also on Instagram as well at Alta_Vista_DGR, everything lowercase. And that's pretty much the two places that you're really going to be able to find us. And then we also do have we have a website as well. You can find us like our on Hip Camp. You can just look up like Alta Vista Disc Golf Ranch if you want to come out and do camping as well. That's going to be like on Hip Camp. We're also on you can find us on UDisc if you just want to like look at pictures and everything as well. And then also on Facebook and Google. Google will also have like the listing as well with the address and everything too if you want to come out. If y'all are in the Colorado, Denver area, or you're traveling there and you're a disc golfer, visit these guys. They're good dudes. Make sure you check them out. Check out their Whatnot streams. They are hype. If you want some hype to your Tuesday and Thursday evening, and you're up like me, a lot of times, guys, I'm there rocking my 2-year-old, putting him to sleep, and it just streaming the boys. So appreciate y'all coming on, and very grateful. We'll see y'all next time. Yeah, thank you guys so much for having us on.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All righty. Hey, fun experiment. Thanks everyone for hanging in for that. Hopefully I don't think it was too confusing for audio listeners only, but maybe if y'all liked it, we can do something like that more often. I think might be cool sometime, Robert, to get like a competitive like doubles pair, people that play doubles a lot, and just see, do they build their bags off one another? How does it, that would be kind of fun, a fun experiment.
Yeah. Maybe get we could even get some of the guys from the staff to do that as well, or find some people, like collegiate doubles.
Oh yeah.
Welcome people into the world of collegiate doubles.
That would be interesting. Yeah. I like that idea.
Because I think for some of our listeners, you have folks that I'm finding just as the sport continues to grow, right? Like there are people headed to college, and it's like, I think of his name's Oliver Pollard, who plays on Liberty's disc golf team right now. Mm-hmm. And Ollie, I met Ollie when he was met him 3 or 4 years ago, and then ran into him when Jason and I were playing at East. And he was like, yeah, we're practicing for tryouts because that's kind of what I want to do with my college experience is I want to play college disc golf. And I'm like,
sweet.
That's so crazy that we're in a world that is
like possibility,
goals and ambitions. Yeah. So, but Brad, people are gonna get out here and they're gonna listen. They're gonna say, "Hey, that's great." You talked about the Westside King. I don't know about the Westside King, but what discs do they know about that are new to the warehouse?
So this week we got an exciting time. We got a bunch of MVP, our biggest MVP restock in history, probably. So that's all going up. I'm not guaranteeing all of it will be up this week, maybe even next week, because we have that many discs going up, but we are prioritizing some of the heavy hitters. So trails are going up. We've got glitches going up, hexes, ranges. I mean, we have all the good. We have, I think I can confidently say every mold that was available, which was most of them, if not all of them, we have at least a few discs of every single MVP Axiom Streamline mold. So
that's awesome.
We got it all. If you're looking for it, we got it. Yeah, envies, proxies, I said hexes, reactors, resistors, waves, relays. I mean, you name it, it's there. So just recently restocks your best friend. Also, just if you actually, our new website, if you just search in what you want on there, it'll easily take you to that. You can search mold, you can search whatever. Also, another cool feature, Hunter pointed out yesterday to Jason and I, if you're a person like Jason who wants an all pink bag, you can actually go in the search bar and just type in pink, and it'll tell you all the discs that we have in pink variants. So
that's sick.
Some little behind the scenes things we're like integrating into what we do to make your shopping experience much better. Again, everything we do is very customer experience focused. So that's just one of those things that hopefully you all, and you can also search plastic type up there too, by the way. That'll lead you to any variant. So if you're like, man, I really love Champ plastic, you can search Champ up in that search bar, and it'll bring you up all the discs that we have variants that say have Champion in the variant title. So you can search. It won't take you to the exact, like if you're looking for Champ Toro, it won't take you to that exact Champ Toro, but it'll be like, hey, the Toro has Champ variants. So very cool feature there as well. So yeah, if you're looking for MVP, you're looking for a certain plastic or disc, that search bar is great for that as well. We also had Ledgestone Wave 1 drop, which was pretty fun. There's some really cool stuff in there. There's some really nice like Gundam Wing themed stamped zones, which are very cool if you're a fan of Gundam Wing from back in the day. Those are very cool. There are also some really cool Lunas. We talked about Lunas in the episode. These Lunas have like this actual moon silhouette on them. Very, very clean looking stamp. Very cool. Just because the Luna's in that like gray black plastic that looks like the moon. So it's really, really cool. There's a couple other molds in there as well. So check those out. We also have House of Discs, the 10th anniversary Berg dropped, so that's fun. We also have the Kristen Graces for the year dropped as well. Also the P4 25th anniversary P4 dropped as well. So
dude, the P4, okay, so talk to me about the P4, Brad, because I think the P4 is a mold that people are gonna know, but they don't know that they know.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's the tactic, right? Basically,
I think it's the tactic I put basically because they canceled out the evolution line, and they're starting to bring them all into the originals, and so I think it's the tactic.
Yeah, it feels like a zone type disc. You know what I mean, like an approach disc like that. So I believe that's what Hunter said as well, and yeah, it's very, very cool. I could throw it, without spoiling a whole lot of anything. Jason and I found ourselves in a situation where I thought I might have to lose the zone out of my bag for the whole year. There's a lot of wrong decisions that led to that moment, but yeah, I was like, well, I could probably throw a P4. That'd be all right. So, you can decide what that means, but yeah, seems like a fun disc. I think it's in Color Glow as well. So fun disc to try. We also have, how can I forget this? Grackles are back in stock.
Hey.
Apex and Apex Swirl Grackles. I will be adding one of those to my bag. I don't know if I want the Swirl or the regular Apex yet, but I've only thrown the Sublime ones, and I love the Grackle. So very excited about that. Also restock on Mustangs, Phoenixes, Tacos with that as well. And yeah, that's pretty much what we got going on this week. Got some cool stuff already in the pipeline for next week. We have some cool stuff dropping exclusively at MCO. If you all are in that area, the guys will be down there, including Robbie, including Jason will be down there. Robbie's going to have some Z Sparkle Cicadas spoilers available there for the first time. Outside of his Birdie Fin folks, of course, they get first access to the cool stuff. But that's the first drop of these, so very excited. We're gonna have a special Ezra exclusive stamp at MCO dropping as well.
It looks so good, guys. It looks so cool.
Yeah, I very excited about that. So also, if you're like, hey, one of those people like, hey, I'd really love a Hunter Bird or a Trevor Cash or a Connor Shaman or a Robbie C Wizard, I would be there too, maybe, theoretically. Yeah. So make sure you check all that out. And as always, guys, make sure you're looking at recently restock. We have stuff going in and out of there every day. And again, if you try it and you're like, hey, this is really not for me, remember we have foundation care, so don't be afraid to try new things. That's what we're all about. And if you try new things and it's good, you make sure you keep them in the bag, Robbie. And we will, in fact, see you all next week this time. We mean it, okay?